Yo, welcome to another episode of the BJJ Goons podcast. I'm your host, Tim Mushmaster Spriggs, and with me as always is...
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Nico Ball. Glad to be back for another episode of the world's best BJJ podcast.
Yes, the best BJJ podcast ever. I put that on everything.
On God.
On everything. On mothers.
But with a V, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, with a V. Mothers. So, Nico, today, what are we going to be talking about with the people?
Today, we're kind of going to go in line. It's like a series of episodes and not really a series. It's going to be these two. Not last week, because we took a week off. Our last episode, we were talking about gym fashion, etiquette when you're on the mats, what to wear, what not to wear. This was inspired by a friend of mine that had recently started training Jiujitsu. So this week we're going to take it a step further and we're going to go into like a competition checklist, the do's and don'ts of your first competition, maybe your first major competition, maybe, or maybe you've been competing for a while and you've just been out there like being outrageous with your shit. And we're going to try to draw it. We're going to try to bring it in a little bit. And I guess I want to dedicate this episode to Johnny B. He's the one that inspired me. And you'll see when we get down into our checklist, or should I just say, no, I will say when we get down into it. Because I was going to start with a crazy a question, not a question.
Go ahead.
Crazy is a word in the question. My bad, y'all. I'm like out of it. So I was just going to start. And it's like, Tim, have you ever seen some like crazy shit at a competition? Or is it just me coming out of the blue with this outline?
Craziest thing I personally saw at a competition. Somebody used the bathroom barefoot. Yeah. And this is a busy competition. I think it was the DC Open where I saw this. Yeah, it was the DC Open where I saw this. Somebody was just out.
Oh, that was a local. So that was a local. That makes it even worse.
That was a local.
Fantastic.
As far as dumbest, because that's pretty fucking dumb.
I mean, because crazy has different categories. That's why I didn't want to like front load it with mine. I wanted to ask you where you could take this.
Crazy. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to know.
No, just that's pretty dirty. That's dirty. Yeah.
That's dirty. And my other answer is the craziest thing I've seen in a competition in person is when Herber Santos started that riot in Brazil. I was in the fray.
You experienced that. How was your view of that? Like,
I was right up in there because I was standing on the sideline when it happened.
But sometimes being in the middle of it kind of like distorts your vision. You have no idea what's going on. So like you had a good perception of
I had a good ass perception. I had a good old perception of what the hell was going on. It was bonkers.
Yeah.
It was bonkers. I'm glad that he's doing better though. I'm glad he's back competing because I don't know. He's a wild boy.
I'm glad he's a wild boy and he's supposed to be reformed. He did get back, right? Was he at Brazilian Nationals?
I don't think he competed at Brazilian Nationals. I think he did a local tournament in California where he's training.
Okay. All right. So then next question would be, what's the craziest submission or move that you've seen somebody pull off in competition, like that highlight reel type?
I think it was when Keenan did that bow and arrow choke from 50-50 on Paulo Miao. Yeah. I was in the house for that and I saw it. I was like, oh shit, he's out. And he won. When he did that shit to Joao or Paulo, that was wild. When they were brown belts.
Wow. What competition was that at?
European Open.
That was at Europeans?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Europeans had some bangers.
You gotta go hard.
Yeah, Europeans had some bangers back in the day, yo. Like real crazy ass finishes and matches. And some of them are lost to time because of Budo videos falling off.
Oh, so are they just like not possible to find anymore? They should like dump them on a YouTube channel.
they're possible to find, but in order to see someone would have had to recorded the matches. The time I beat Keenan at the Worlds, I can't find it. I haven't looked for it in a while, but I can't really find it. It's not up on any of my YouTube. It's not on YouTube that I can find.
It's interesting. You know, if anybody knows where to find it, it would be Ricardo Amendolia.
Yeah, he'll be able to find it for sure.
All right. And last but not least, the last question is actually pretty much like a black belt wisdom, I think. This is a question that I have specifically for Tim. When you're at competition, you know, how do you know when to play it safe versus when to go and try to use those crazy moves like a flying triangle or some of the crazy stuff that Rico be doing? Like, is there a way to know, or can you just do it?
I can only speak for myself. I can only speak for myself, but when I go for crazy highlight reel stuff, it's not that I'm going for it consciously. It's just in the flow of just competing.
So you
going out there and doing the thing, just things just happen. You know how Steph Curry, he just has a feeling and he just shoots a 3-pointer from way far beyond the arc and he nails
Tim,
it.
I know how basketball players feel.
but
that's the one I relate to.
But I would say that they feel the same thing. Or like when you see Michael Jordan do he goes for a layup and he reverses halfway through there. If you do something long enough and you've reached that level where you've mastered it, sometimes things just occur and you just react, and that's where the highlight reel stuff comes into play. Whenever it's a flying guillotine that I hit somebody with, or I heel hook somebody, it's all from my training, and I just seek the opportunity, or I don't even seek it. I just attack at the opportunity when it prevents itself, and that's when the magic happens. Playing it safe, I don't believe in playing it safe. I think that you should go out there and try to win. Playing it safe is trying to secure a lead that you don't really have, or an imaginary lead. And that's when you tend to lose, when you play it safe.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great answer. But do you feel the same way for crazy ass white belts?
They have no concept of safety. They don't know enough to know
what. That's why it scares me. Like the idea of them like
they're just doing shit. Like anything that they do is just doing shit unless it is in a structured fashion. So in their mind, highlight reel ish is not highlight reel shit. It's just like you doing some weird shit. It's not highlight reel stuff. Do you understand what I'm saying? When you're a white belt, you're just trying to survive. So this idea of playing it safe, you can't play it safe because there's no safety because you're not good enough to be safe. There's no highlight reel shit. It's
Let's
just
take
you
safe
get
out
lucky.
for white belt. Let's just take safe out and put in like normal, like an arm bar opposed to like a flying arm bar, you know? Because sometimes you be seeing other people do shit like Granby rolling, and it's like you don't know how to berimbolo. It's like, why are you trying? What are you doing? Kind of stuff.
I didn't do flying shit because I knew better. I knew better than to just leave my feet and try to go for an attack that I can't do on the ground.
I'm curious.
You learn to crawl, and then you learn to walk, and then you learn to jump. Am I correct?
A logical person, but like I think it was when we weren't filming, you were talking about how jiu-jitsu tracks a lot of crazy people. So like jiu-jitsu white belts.
Yeah, that's the craziest belt and the most dangerous.
Yeah, so
white belt is the most dangerous belt in jiu-jitsu.
So we're gonna have to continue this series later on with like white belt defense. like when you're up in those brackets and you see that you're facing one of those cracked out white belts.
You better have really good jiu-jitsu to neutralize the crazy. That requires a lot of jiu-jitsu. You have to be pretty good at jiu-jitsu to neutralize crazy. You have to.
What do you do if you're not? What do you do if you're not good at jiu-jitsu and you see yourself face to face with crazy?
Be aggressive in what you can do, and keep them in your wheelhouse. If you have a wheelhouse, do your A game.
Sounds very like philosophical. I don't know. Like
that's what you do. You don't try to out crazy the crazy person. You do what you know. That's gonna limit. That's gonna limit your chances of getting injured.
Yeah, I remember one time I was going to compete in absolute against this like huge girl, and I sent a picture over to Master Lloyd because I was traveling, and he's like, "Look, shorty, just get your grips and act angry as hell." I was
Yeah,
like,
that's
"All
that's
right."
what you got to do.
He's like, "Just go for them grips."
If you're a guard, pull guard. If you're going against a crazy person, then lock their ass down, let them wear themselves out while you slowly apply what you're good at and keep them in there. If you stay calm against a crazy person and you are deliberate in what you're doing, that crazy runs out quick. They will blow their load.
You're
If
gonna
I
gas
know
out.
they're gonna blow their load, yeah.
Very true. Very true. All right, so that's the end of my questions. Now we're just going to go on a rundown of some things that I think are important to keep in mind when competing, especially your first competition. I feel like maybe I need to have Tim close his eyes, take a deep breath.
I remember. I don't have to close my eyes. I
And
remember vividly.
your white belt days?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, bet.
It
So
was intense.
good.
It was nuts.
I have some nice stories. So the reason, especially, I came up with this is like something that's important to keep in mind in competing is your gi is essential. I took somebody down to Brazil with me, and he's used to competing in local competitions like that Naga in the US grappling. And yo, your gi needs to match when you're competing. It also needs to look nice. This person traveled all the way to Brazil and he was going to compete specifically and did not have a gi that would pass competition regulations. One, the tops and the bottoms weren't matching because that's what they do at their gym, which is cool. You're going to do that. At Naga, they'll let you do that. But when you step up to IBJJF, you need to step up your gi quality. Like I know people in the favela that don't have anything. They can barely feed themselves and they have gis that they use for competition that they never use in training. So it amazes me. It's beyond like sometimes like it amazes me that somebody that would go to compete and not think like there's gi requirements. So I was like, people just need to know. Maybe we should inform them.
Yes, all the listeners of this show, I'd be surprised if any of them didn't know that you had to have a matching top and bottom at the IBJJF. But if you don't now, you know. I'm not going to shame you for what you don't know. But now that you know that information, I will shame you if you fuck up. As far as having a competition gi, yes, you need a separate competition gi. You're going to have to spend the money. Jiu-jitsu tends to be a little expensive, but if you're going to do it the right way. Get a competition gi that is clean and follows the regulations. It's plain and simple. You can go to the IBJJF website, find out all the rules and regulations as to what patches you can have and where you can have them and whatnot, and the measurements. Invest in a gi checker so that there's no guessing and you don't have to rely on anyone. The same thing goes for your weight class. You should be able to know that as well, but you're probably going to talk about that later. So gis, and it needs to be either white, black, or blue. I think it's just white and blue now at black belt. I believe at the like semifinals and finals, you can't wear black gi.
And then they get real picky, like at black belt, because you need a specific color, because you can't have the same color gi as your opponent, so that has to be coordinated and
you
everything.
Bring both of them.
But you grew up competing in Naga. I haven't competed in a lot of Naga. Like, aren't they out there like wild? Like, because they have like no regulations on their clothes.
It's the Wild West. Non-IBJJF is the Wild West, and I'm including big promotions. Non-IBJJF is the Wild West when it comes to gi regulations. Super fight tournaments, all they care about is if it's different colors, but you can do whatever. Some people I've seen dress up in the green man suit where they have like their face covered in the green, like the green screen suit.
You've seen that?
Yes, people dress like superheroes in their rash guard and spats without shorts over them, might I add. It's a criminal offense.
Without shorts.
Yeah,
that's without
be
shoes.
in
And
uniform,
this is why I brought this up,
because
because these are the kind of people that you take down to Brazil and they're like, oh, like I should have a new gi to compete in this. I can't just do whatever anywhere. It's like only in Naga, only in the US.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any issues like getting into competition with your gi?
Absolutely not. Never. No, I may have had a belt that was a little too frayed and I had to switch it out. it was like petty shit. It wasn't like an old Master Splinter belt. It was a belt that had a little bit of fraying to it. It was my training belt, but I knew exactly how much it weighed. I ended up getting I think a Vulcan ultra light belt, just so I didn't have any discrepancies as far as making the weight. Besides that, I never had an issue.
You bring up some valid points, like the different gis weigh different sizes. So
Yes.
like the gi that you compete in, for example, I like to compete in a King's Nano. It's super duper light and it barely fits, like it's very tight, but will pass regulations, so you ain't getting good pant grips and you're not going to get my lapel very easy, because if you have an oversized gi, you have a lot to grab onto. Belts also have weights, so like those things matter.
You have to
Also
weigh in with a
forgot,
belt.
Tim's real bougie, so he's never gonna he's always gonna have a proper gi.
Yes.
So you're probably gonna say no to this next question. How many gis do you bring to competition? Do you ever bring more than one in case your first gi doesn't pass?
My goal was always to pack light, but have the essentials. So I would only bring 3 gis.
Okay, wait. 3 gis for, are you planning for the finals and everything? Like, cause that's a lot of, how is 3 gis packing light, Tim?
I would try to pack 3. It depends on how long the trip is. If it's a world's trip, I'm gonna definitely pack more and have a carry-on.
Oh God, I didn't
But
even think about that.
yes, because if
That
we're traveling nationally, if we're flying, we need to be able to have a separate bag with all the essentials that we're going to need for the trip and a carry-on. But in that carry-on, you're going to have your lightweight gi that you weigh in with, just in case your baggage gets lost over the course of this long world's trip. You will at least have a gi that is is light enough where worst case scenario with the cut, you're going to be able to make weight. So I would pack that gi, and depending on how long the trip was, like say if it was just a regional, I would bring an extra gi with it. If it's like a 1-day trip where it's just gi, then I would bring 2 gis. I bring my lightweight one and my blue one, a different colored one. And if the lightweight gi was a little stretchy and I didn't like it, I'd bring 3. So I'd bring the lightweight one, a blue one, and a white one, so that if I make it to the finals and they have that rule where you have to switch gis, then I'd be able to switch either one.
All right, we're
So
taking out
yeah,
the finals. So taking out the finals. So 3. So you're saying 3 with the
I would
finals, or
suggest
with that
3.
4?
I would
No
suggest
finals. All right.
3.
So we're going normal people. No finals. You suck. You jiu-jitsu. You're gonna, no, you don't. You're going.
No,
We're
I
going
mean
for
we're
like a solid
assuming, but
second, third
you're
place.
always gonna bring 2 different color gis.
At least
In
I
the
know.
in the early rounds, if you're a black belt, you can wear whatever color, white or blue.
Anyway,
Regular people, you need to bring at least 2.
at
You need
least
to bring your
2.
weighing gi and
Because
you need your other gi.
to me, that's always hard because, like, again, especially if I have a camera and like talking about packing light, like maybe Tim. Guys have like an amazing ability to put their gis in the small bags, and I don't know how. So it's really hard for me to bring 2
That's how
gis.
you
So
fold it.
yeah, so I try to make sure my competition gi is right, and like I don't like to bring a second gi, but like guys always sweat more and things like that. So it is also important. And traveling is a whole nother beast, because one, you should always take that competition gi on the plane with you, and 2, like you might need an extra gi in case you have to cut weight. Like,
Yeah, a long trip, you're gonna have to bring about 5. And this is gonna have a funky training gi.
it's
But
pain in the ass.
typically at Worlds, I've done a lot of training and it's just maintenance work, drilling, maybe light rolling. That's it. So you could probably reuse the same gi. If you go to any tournament that is in a warm place like Pans or Worlds, you're gonna go to the Fighter Hotel and there's gonna be gis hanging out on the balcony and shit.
Facts.
Mhm.
Well, the gis was the big chunk of it. That's the most important part, because there's
Yes.
nothing worse than like going to a major competition or any competition and not having a gi that passes, or a friend with a gi that's your size.
Mhm.
The next thing that's important to know is your division. Tim talked about weight before, so weight is part of the division. Age is also part of your division. Like, not only did this person go down to Brazil with me and not have a competition gi, like they let me register them for adult. Like it never occurred to me to ask them if they were like masters or how old they are. So like they were registered for adult in a competition in Brazil. Like, so it's important to check all these things. But the big one is weight. So like, what are your tips, or what were you going to say about weight earlier?
My weight cuts were pretty easy because one, I don't have a lot to lose as far as weight.
All
I'm
right,
a
give us
very lean
numbers. Give us
person.
numbers for how much do you
I
cut normally, or how much do you normally, like how much do you walk, and what's your weight class?
at most I probably had to cut maybe like 10 pounds. No more than 10.
All right, let's bring it back to an open specifically. For us
Okay.
poor people.
An open. Like a regional.
East Coast Open, Atlanta Open. How much are you
Okay.
willing to cut for Atlanta Open? Because I would
Shit.
assume that would vary from that to Worlds. Like your weight class might very well change.
I
Maybe
picked a
not. If
weight
you're in the
class
middle,
that
it might always
I
be the
picked
same.
weight classes in which I wouldn't have to cut more than 10 pounds for a regional. And 10 is like the max. So I'm probably gonna end up having to cut like 5 to 8 pounds around on average before a competition, any competition. That was my typical cut. I'm within 10 pounds of my competition weight. And when I competed a lot, I was training full time all the time. So I would always be in shape. Now it would be varying degrees of intensity and how my diet was dialed in, but for the most part, 5 to 8 pounds.
When you competed a lot, how often were you competing? And what like belt levels do you think you were competing the most at?
I competed the most at purple and brown. I had a lot of matches of purple and brown.
Yeah, those are
Oh
harder
shitload.
matches.
Pardon?
Those are a lot harder matches, you know?
Hmm.
I mean, when I think like I competed like crazy, I would compete like 3 times a month at white belt because I lived in Brazil.
You know, I don't think those matches were hard, and because I was in the groove and I was competing consistently. It got to a point where I would just do so many competitions that it wouldn't make a difference. Like
Were
I
the
had no
matches
nerves.
not hard, or were you just good, Tim? We're like, because we want to speak to the average person as well.
It does, but if the more you do something, the easier it is for you. So you get used to it. Difficulty is in your mind. I mean, of course, there's a physical factor of difficulty, but a lot of the times when we compete in a sport like this where there's rankings, difficulty, a lot of it is just mental.
That's a good point, you know.
It's a lot of it is mental because once you're competing consistently, a lot of it is just it's not so much of a physical difficulty. It's not, the nerves are gone.
Yeah,
It's a
because one of
mental difficulty because it's not like you're a black belt where you know who you're competing against and you compete against people all the time. It's a mental thing. It's in your head as far as how difficult it's going to be. Once you compete consistently, that shit don't matter.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting into when I was saying, like, on the last point that I had put on the outline, like, what is your purpose for competing? And then, like, because I know a lot of people that are nervous about competing and they have those butterflies and they're scared to do it for the first time. And then they see like people like you or even people like me, because I used to be really hardcore into competing and I am hardcore into competing. I'm getting back into it.
Yeah.
And they think that like competition is for people like that, but competition isn't just for people that want to be competitors and want to be black belt world champions. Like if you want to be good at jujitsu and you want to be efficient, like competition is a great way to kind of like test your skills, like because being able to like control your nerves and like the energy dump that you have when you're competing and getting to compete with people that are outside of your gym, because you get into the groove with the same people, that really helps kind of like analyze and evaluate your training and your progress, and it's like kind of speeds it up. It's like a lot, you know, and that helps you go back and be more effective in your training. So like I really encourage people that even if their like goal isn't to be like a top level competitor, still go out there, because there is a mental part to competition and it's important to have an understanding of that.
A little bit of competition goes a long way in your development. We train hard, yes, but the adrenaline dump, as you said, and the psychological difference between a training session and a competition is so immense that it's an important part of your development as a martial artist, because unless you're out there going against someone that isn't on your team, that doesn't know you, that wants what you want, which is a victory, which is a gold medal, which is a check. That is the closest that we can get to a real life struggle for life and death. And if you're not experiencing that on a regular basis, or have and gotten to a point where you know what the level is, all you're doing is just practicing, and practice is just theory. It's the laboratory, but you have to test what you researched in the lab in real life.
And it's not that bad. People are not scary. Like they're not out there
No,
trying to devour you. So I want to encourage
no.
more people to get out and compete. We're running short on time management. Well, let's get to time management. That one's quickly. That one's a quick topic. So like, it's important to make sure that you show up on time before, like check your weight. A lot of people do dumb stuff like showing up really late, or they'll show up really early. And like, you got to understand, like, it's very tiring to be at the stadium all day. So if like you are nervous and not used to competing, like, and you're at the stadium, but you don't complete to like 3 or 4 or 5, like you need to be prepared, like, because that will wear you out. So you need to like go rest, listen to your music, do something like that.
Yeah. When I was competing, I made it a point to go to the venue. If it's a grand slam, I'll go to the venue, watch my teammates compete. But then after about an hour or two, I dip out. Like later on in my career, I was like, I'm not gonna sit here and wait for all this shit. Like I'm out, because it's draining and you can't be around that kind of energy. We used to joke that the pyramid would take your soul, and it's true. And it's easy to get your soul taken if you're sitting inside the arena for 4 days at 8+ hours at a time.
Yeah.
So planning your schedule, not just at the tournament, but for the competition season helps. I think that you should have a season. You should have a high level of intensity as far as a competing schedule, and then cycle off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's gonna, yeah, every sport has its seasons, even individual sports like tennis and golf.
Even if you're not a high level competitor, I think it helps to like go through and try to plan out and set goals for the year. Like, where do you want to compete? Like, I know a lot of people that might use competition to travel, or just to like have a goal, like set a goal for yourself. Be like, I'm gonna compete like 3 times this year, and like when in the year, and like try to like, it helps give you a goal for your training, you know, and a way to evaluate it as well.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Nico.
Last topic, most important. We ain't skipping this one. We got a little time. We're gonna wrap it up. Oh yeah, we got 27, so that's cool. We're trying to keep the episodes bite sized. So
I was gonna add. Do you want to go over the last, so we can wrap right now?
Oh no, we going over this because this is the most important one for the listeners, y'all.
All right. Okay.
Drinking before competing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have oh so many friends that love to have some beer. Even, you know, my jiu-jitsu friends that love to go out after training and have a beer too. And then I had this person that I brought to Brazil. He really is the inspiration for this entire episode. I had him registered as an adult. And then I had him up in the favela with Terede's 2 cousins and instructors at Terede Kids Project, sitting at the bar. You know, Terede's cousin, like the one that competes a lot, Behino, he's drinking water. Then Noguera, the one that drinks a lot, he comes and orders a beer. Then my friend that's about to compete that weekend, I'm not sure, it was probably 2 days, he had more than a day, he orders a beer.
Oh,
and those 2 look at me and they're like, Nico Ball, get him the hell out of the adult division right now.
The week of, he was drinking the week of.
It was like a day or 2 before. It was like, and like not the only one he had. He was on vacation, you know, like he was competing, but he was there chilling.
That's a very Brazilian thing to do, though. That's a very sportsman thing to do. Even like sportsmen, like, you know, old timey guys would do shit like that. I don't drink the week of competition, but I'll have a beer or 2 the week before. Yeah. Yeah, I live my life. As much as I train, when I'm 110% into something, it's all in, right? And it's a year-round commitment. I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna drink. I'm not gonna go party out my face off if it's World's Camp, but I'm gonna have a beer.
See,
Yeah.
now I'll probably drink it. When I consider myself, like when I lived in Brazil, I consider myself to be a professional fighter. Like I would stop drinking like a month before competition.
Oh man.
If it was like Worlds, I probably would like stop drinking, maybe have like one drink or two drinks in
Do
the
you
month.
think
But
a
like,
beer here and there is going to be the difference between you winning or losing?
I mean, some people and professionals, not me, I'm saying like, and this is
I
why
was
I put the question there
professional.
so we could bring the talk about this, because like I said, now it's like I'm also coming off surgeries and whatnot. It's like,
But you're
but it's
still in
like,
recovery.
yeah.
You're in
So like,
recovery. You're not in training.
I
You're trying to
also,
get back to 100%. I'm
but like
already at the peak. I
for
can have a
me,
beer too.
okay, well, what, Tim, Jesus Christ, I want you to think about our listeners. We're
I'm
trying to
thinking
give
about our
advice.
listeners. I'm
All
the
right.
common
We're trying to
man.
get, we know that you won 30 grand and only train 3 days a week. We know that. We know that.
Oh
We
my
got you.
God. What do you think I did
No.
to get to that point, though? I wasn't always a black
But
belt.
no, I ain't trying to
Continue.
fight you. I just thought this is exactly why I put this on here, because it's always interesting to see, do people drink? Because, you know, a lot of the black folks I know, like, you know, drink. Yeah, all of them. Like Sadiq straight edge, Jamil straight edge. So Malachi straight edge. And I can't speak on
Wait, whoa,
Malachi.
whoa, whoa,
Malachi
whoa,
come
whoa.
off straight edge.
Yeah, but I mean, people are supposed to come off a straight edge, but you know, a lot of that image is everything now. So we don't know for sure.
I
But
have
I can
never
speak
seen
for
any of
myself.
those people,
I can
aforementioned
speak for
people, outside
myself.
of the kids' class. When have they ever been with alcohol?
I cannot confirm nor deny because I
You
don't
can.
know.
You actually can, and you will off air for me, please. And thank you.
I cannot confirm nor deny. But Nico, whether you drink or not, I think the key is just you find what works best for you. And whether or not it will affect your performance in the room, on the competition mats, or in making weight. It's all about what works for you.
I think that's a key point. Like, one, for me, for example, like I am more of a smoker than a drinker. So it's like beer will, like any like drinking, it dehydrates me more. So it will impact. I can see the immediate impact on like the training the next day. Maybe not all the time, but I can tell like, oh, like I'm turning into a lightweight and this and that. But another important thing, like alcohol aside, it's the calories and the fat, you know, that shit will make you fat if you're trying to cut weight. Like, because I've seen people doing dumb stuff cutting weight. Like they'll eat like it was in Portuguese, so it's like integral, which is like whole wheat cookies. They'll be like, oh, but they're whole wheat, like they're healthy, and it's like, but they're cookies. Like, so it's just interesting. So don't forget, beer will make you fat, not just drunk.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Well, while we're on the subject of diet, I want to talk about one of our sponsors who helps me a lot with my diet being dialed in, because I power lift, I do professional wrestling, which is very, very, very hard, very physically taxing and time consuming because I hit the roads and I'm traveling to these different matches. And what helps me with my schedule and helps nourish me and give me all the fuel that I need to compete, what has helped me is John's Fit Meals, and they're a very special sponsor of the show. I've been using John's Fit Meals since last summer, and I have to say they've helped me tremendously. I've been powerlifting. I reach PRs all the time now, and you need to eat right if you're going to reach PRs in whatever sport that you choose. So I encourage you to go to johnsfitmeals.com. They have meals for you by you. So you can get a custom meal made, or you can choose from their weekly menu of pre-prepared foods. And now they're handmade by chefs, whole foods, like whole healthy foods, great ingredients, great items. I eat the breakfast burritos every morning. Great. They got all your macros. So make sure you go to johnsfitmeals.com, use promo code BJJ Goons for a very special discount. Let them know the Mushmaster sent you because they're a sponsor and we fucks with them heavy. Shout out to John's Fit Meals. Nico, where can we find you?
Yo, after you get your John's Fit Meals account set up, slide on over to Instagram and find me at no new Nico. That's no_new_Nico.
You can find me at Tim Spriggs BJJ on Instagram or Facebook. And you can follow me at Mushmaster Wins on Twitter as well. And you can see both of us at our Patreon at patreon.com/BJJ Goons. On our Patreon, we have bonus episodes. We have cool interviews where we're with the shits and we say all kinds of shit that we cannot say on the free podcast. And on top of that, I do match breakdowns. I critique people's matches. I break down techniques. All of this is at BJJ Goons Patreon at patreon.com/BJJ Goons. If you want a private lesson, if you want to book me for a seminar, if you want me to make your game plan for you, go to timspriggsbjj.com, book a session with me. I do private lessons in person and virtually as well. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this has been another awesome episode of the best BJJ podcast ever, the BJJ Goons. On behalf of Nico Ball, I would like to say, stay safe and peace.
Us.